Selamat siang, selamat bertemu kembali Bapak, Ibu, dan rekan-rekan semuanya. Kembali kita bertemu di acara DUR3N Talk edisi 20. Jadi kali ini bersama saya, Dimas Adji Nugraha, kita akan berbicara, berdiskusi secara santai dan mengasihkan ke depan masih mengenai isu-isu terkini di dunia ketenagalistrikan. Di sini dari list peserta saya lihat ada beberapa nama yang saya kenal, ada Pak Jiteng, selamat siang, selamat bergabung Pak Jiteng. Lalu ada juga Pak Aryo Sukardan yang selalu setia mengikuti DUR3N Talk ini. Terima kasih, selamat siang Bapak. Dan rekan-rekan lain yang tidak bisa kami sebutkan satu persatu, selamat datang, selamat bergabung kembali di acara ini. Jadi topik kita pada siang hari ini adalah jaringan pintar atau yang sering juga disebut sebagai Smartgrid. Jadi berbicara mengenai Smartgrid tentunya sama dengan hal-hal lain yang mendapatkan sematan kata smart seperti smartphone, seperti smart car, seperti smart home. Tentunya ada perbedaan antara hal yang kita kenal dulu dan hal-hal yang sudah disematkan kata smart. Nah, tentunya hal ini juga berlaku dengan kata Smartgrid ini. Nah, beruntung bersama kita pada siang hari ini, kita sudah ditemani dengan narasumber kita yang luar biasa. Jadi, attending with us today, we have Dr. Aznan Ariffin. Hello, Mr. Aznan. Good afternoon. How are you?
Kabar baik, Pak. Good afternoon to you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Pleasure is all mine.
Saya bacakan sejenak riwayat singkat dari narasumber kita, Dr. Aznan. Dr. Aznan merupakan Chief Strategy Officer of TNB Research Malaysia. Beliau adalah lulusan dari Imperial College London dan University of Manchester di bidang Electrical dan Electronics Engineering. Beliau memiliki pengalaman kerja selama 21 tahun pada berbagai area dan bagian di TNB. Sempat diberi tanggung jawab sebagai staf khusus CEO TNB untuk bidang engineering dan teknologi pada tahun 2004 hingga 2009. Dan pada 2014 hingga 2015, beliau diperbantukan sebagai Vice President di Investment Division of Khazanah Nasional. Beliau juga merupakan anggota First Committee yang mengembangkan Malaysian Grid Code. Dan hingga saat ini, beliau juga aktif dalam kegiatan terkait dunia ketenagalistrikan, sebagai lecturer, sebagai speaker, serta aktif mengkomunikasikan kegiatannya dalam bentuk paper di forum-forum internasional seperti IEEE, SIGRE, SEPSI, dan IEM. Nah, sebelum saya serahkan ruang ini pada Pak Aznan, saya perlu mengingatkan bahwa para audiens kami undang dan dapat ikut berpartisipasi dalam diskusi ini dengan menuliskan pertanyaan-pertanyaan atau komentar atau hal-hal lain yang ingin disampaikan pada kotak percakapan yang sudah tersedia di ruang Zoom ini ataupun di YouTube. Nah, pertanyaan terpilih akan saya bacakan di akhir presentasi dari Pak Aznan dan nanti akan kita diskusikan bersama dengan narasumber kita hari ini. Nah, tanpa menunggu hal lain, ruang Zoom akan saya berikan pada narasumber kita, Dr. Aznan. The room is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your invitation. Assalamualaikum, Bapak-bapak, Ibu-ibu di Indonesia. Nama saya Aznan Ariffin daripada TNB Research Malaysia. Izinkan saya berbahasa Inggeris ya. Walau bagaimanapun, Ibu-ibu dan Bapak-bapak boleh bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia juga. Bahasa Nusantara kita. Izinkan saya share my screen. Okay. I hope I have. Oops. Okay. Oke, mengambil masa sedikit. Okay. 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 Thank you for your invitation to speak at DUR3N talk. Yeah. Okay. So the title given to me is Smartgrid for Developing Countries: Challenges and Opportunities. This is a typical topic that people normally give about smart grid, but I'm going to start from the very basic, because I think a lot of people a lot of people are still not familiar with the topic smart grid. So I'll probably start off with definition, what people think of smart grid, and after that I'll go towards the challenges and issues, especially in Malaysia, and I'll share my experience on my involvement in smart grid. Okay, pesanan penaja ya Pak. I'm from TNB Research. Our role is to conduct R&D and lab services for TNB and electricity industry. This is our center in Bangi, Selangor. Now I am in my office, but Malaysia has recently again going through movement control order, lockdown number 3.0. So I'm fortunate that I'm able to come to the office today. Otherwise, you'll see my background as my bedroom doing the presentation. But today I'm in the office and able to give you this presentation. Okay, so a little bit about TNB Research. We are the leading and largest R&D company in Malaysia, subsidiary of Tenaga Nasional. TNB, for those who do not know in PLN, maybe we are like PLN in Malaysia, okay, not as large as PLN. We have a good relations with PLN through Hapua, Asia, etc. We in TNB Research, we specialize in energy and environmental sector, and we have been given the R&D status since 1997. Our strength now is about 110 researchers. And our services now, we have applied research in power delivery, power generation, environmental management, and strategic research. And also we have topics on advanced research, such as we are emphasizing on low carbon power generation technology, emission waste, smart grid, which is the topic I'm going to be speaking today, and green energy technology. So this is our facilities in Malaysia, future generation sources. These are the kind of research units that we have. So we are open to collaboration with PLN R&D or any ASEAN R&D if they think that there are areas that we can collaborate together. So going to the content of my talk today, first I'm going to explain about smart grid, what makes a grid smart and how it differs from conventional grid. Okay, we know what we are now, but what is really smart grid, the characteristic, the nature of smart grid. And I'm going in the second, the second content of my talk will be what is making the case for smart grid, especially the business drivers. You need to have an intention to do smart grid. You cannot be doing smart grid just for the sake of doing it, but there must be clear business drivers that are forcing the move from conventional to smart grid. Thirdly, I'm going to talk about anatomy of a smart grid, description of some of the technologies that make a grid smart, and try to demystify the jargons. Okay, a lot of terminologies being bandied around, so we try to navigate through that. Okay, try to explain a few selected technologies that define smart grid. Fourthly, implementing a smart grid, discussion on the challenges. I think the topic today is about the challenges. I'm going to go into that. What we face when we implement smart grid in Malaysia, and I'm sure that also in Indonesia. Impact of smart grid, the effect that smart grids will have on stakeholders, and finally the top 10 smart grid tips that I can leave you all with to ponder about. Number one, what is smart grid? Smart is the new E, electronic. You know, we all know. Before it was email, it was e-commerce, e-health, e-voting, everything electronic. Now we have smartphones, smart cities, smart transport, even smart water. So it seems that before it was E, before any particular topic. Now it becomes smart. So we don't have e-grid before, but now we move to smart grid immediately. So that's the thing about smart grid. And I recall maybe 10 or 15 years ago, when people come to me and wanted to discuss smart grid, I say that what is so smart about the new grid? Because we are already smart. We have energy monitoring system in transmission. We have system operator with all the energy management system in a control center. What do we need to do more? But actually, there are more that can be done. The grid that we are working on, the grid that we have now is already smart, but we want to make it smarter with new devices and new tools, new management systems. So is smart grid the solution of all our energy problems? Because now we have the classic trilemma of energy security, affordability, security, and the other one is sustainability. Okay, could smart grid be the solution to doing this? Because we know before we have to do balancing, we have to do delicate balancing between these three topics, three issues of security, affordability, and sustainability. So is smart grid enable us to do the delicate balance between these three issues? So I'll try to answer that, and especially with the challenge of energy transition. Many companies in the world have announced that they're going to go net zero emission by 2050, 2060, for example. A lot of companies in car companies, for example, have announced that they're going to stop producing internal combustion engine cars. They're going to electric vehicles. So then they are worried about global warming, worry about even the pandemic. Are we able to solve some of our issues now with smart grid? I try to answer that. What is smart grid and what makes it so much cleverer than the grid that we have now? I mentioned this before. What is it about smart grid that makes it clever? Is it something that we can see? Is it something that we can touch? Is it something that impactful to our consumers? So what is it really, smart grid? Are all smart grids smart? Okay, we have the Indonesian smart grid program. We have the Malaysian smart grid program. We have known about Korean smart grid problems. How do you recognize one? And then and most importantly, I think, in spite of what we do as a utility, be it TNB or PLN, you have to serve the consumer, the average consumer. What is it for them? Okay, we can go until the cows come home talking about smart grid, but what is first and foremost is, how does it impact our average consumer? It needs to be beneficial to them. So this is a diagram, a picture that I like to show. And this is not a new one. I didn't come up with this myself. A lot of people come to me and, it's like, what is smart grid? And I would say that it's like touching an elephant, a part of an elephant, without knowing exactly where you are. So when you try to touch a big animal such as an elephant, you think that, and probably with your eyes closed, you probably say that thing. When you are on the top of the elephant, you think that it's a fan, it's a wall, whether it's a rope if you are touching the tail, whether if you are touching the trunk and you think it's a tree, it's a snake, if you are touching the bottom part, and then whether it's a spear, if you're touching the I can't remember the name, the horn. So we don't really know, because smart grid is so big and so many components of smart grid that if you do not have a bird's eye view, or even if you're not involved with it, you will not appreciate what smart grid is. So you have names such as smart meter. Okay, a lot of people associate smart grid with smart meter, but smart meter is not the only component of smart grid. It's only one component, although albeit is despite the fact that it is one of the most important component of a smart grid is the smart meter. And then we have intelligent wide area intelligence system. We have phase measurement units. We have now renewable energy, plug-in electric vehicle, and green technology, distributed energy resources, advanced distribution resource management system, smart home, behind the meter. So all of these are the names that people normally associate with smart grid. So when you have all of these things, do you think that your grid is smart? So that's the question that we're going to ask ourselves today. Okay, you may have some of this and you may have all of them here. Do they all make a smart grid? I try to answer that, and I think the question and answers later probably make it more clearer to the what smart grid is. Okay, I pick up a simple definition, and this definition comes from the component of the grid which is on the distribution side. Okay, a simple definition is a smart grid is an electricity distribution network that can monitor electricity flowing within itself, and based on this self-awareness, adjust changing conditions. So smart grid is nothing more about having visualization, knowing how many kilowatt or amperes flowing your distribution network, and knowing all of them, and based on this visualization information, you adjust changing conditions, and then you do this automatically. So it does this by automatically reconfiguring the network, or by exerting a level of control over connected demand and generation. As we all know, on the distribution side, there are a lot of maybe overloading, potentially overloading transformers, or potentially overloading distribution lines that cause sagging. So if we have a smart grid, ideally, we should be able to monitor those, even without human intervention, able to adjust the conditions so that it will configure the network so that it becomes normal again. So you avoid problems. So basically, in this definition, smart grid actually solve your security problem. And to a certain extent, you serve your customers better. Then hopefully you will improve your SAIDI, SAIFI, all the indices that you put on yourself, because you have a better reliable system. So smart grid, the answer to smart grid to us is to improve the reliability and security of the system. Okay, this is a more generic IEEE, and this definition was used many years ago. I always keep this definition because I think this definition came from EPRI, Electric Power Research Institute, one of the first entity that use the name smart grid often 10 or 15 years ago. And it uses the word like a smarter grid uses digital technologies to improve the reliability, security, efficiency, and electric system. So let's think about it. It's just nothing more than imposing digital technologies, namely ICT, communications and control, into the existing grid, so that the grid becomes more reliable, secure, and efficient. It's nothing more than that. We have the old conventional grid, we have the analog meters, we change to digital meters, then we move into smart meters. So this is an example of using digital technologies to improve security, reliability, and efficiency of the electric system. And we improve that not just on the smart meter, we improve it on the plant side, the generation, and what in Indonesia they call it geduk, something like power plant, power plants, and then we improve on the transmission, substation intelligence, distribution intelligence. So nothing new here. So we have phasor measurement units we put on our instead of relying only on SCADA system, we put phasor measurement units, so we know the angle and the absolute voltage on any particular point in the network, so that we know whether it's going to go unstable, for example. And then we have IED, intelligent electronic devices, so we can do protection and control better. We have digital disturbance recorders that record any event on the grid. So all of these are already happening, and we are already making the grid smart. I'm sure in PLN also, you are towards installing all these devices on transmission network. Maybe not as much as in Malaysia, because Malaysia in TNB itself, we have installed a lot of phasor measurement units to monitor our grid better. We know the instance where the grid can go unstable, because we know the angle and the phase between any two nodes in our system. But the the intelligence in transmission network is only half of the story. We have to move it to distribution network also. Now we are slowly moving the technologies available that we have tried on the transmission system into the distribution system. Obviously, this is more difficult because distribution system is much more bigger, larger, multiple times coverage bigger than transmission system. So we have to slowly move and to be able to selectively use technologies that have matured in transmission side to distribution side. We cannot be just expanding all the technologies to all distribution facilities because it is not commercially viable. So it's going to be expensive grid as well. Say, for example, you have a single customer at the end of the line. You cannot be putting phasor measurement unit on that particular person. It's not cost effective. So the intention of smart grid is not to be that extent. I mean, that would be dumb grid if you ask me. If you want to be a smart grid, you have to selectively install these devices on chosen locations that you have better visualization on your distribution system. So also we already have automated feeder switches, capacitor controllers, fault indicators, all of this, to have a better visualization and control on your distribution network. And finally, on the end of the chain is the consumer itself. We interface with the consumer on a smart meter. Malaysia has installed 1 million smart meters now from 9 million customers. We are targeting to have 9 million customers by 2030 or something, in 10 years time. So we are doing it selectively because we do not think that it is cost effective to install 9 million in one go. Okay, you have to install to selected customers that are, most importantly, customers that are able to benefit for having a smart meter. Okay, you cannot just simply install everyone. You have to install to those maybe are high consuming customers that have an energy management systems. So it's important that they have a better visualization. So smart grid extends from all the way from power plant. You have your digitalization effort on power plants, and you have all this visualization on your transmission and distribution network all the way to the smart meter. Okay. Now the thing is, does the customer feel this? What is it that is going to be impactful to them? So this is something that I'm going to discuss later, and I think it's very important that we know that at the end of the day we have to serve our customers. So I pick up some Indonesian minister EDSM definition of smart grid, which I think is a very nice definition. Which is smart grid adalah sistem jaringan tenaga listrik yang dilengkapi dengan teknologi informasi dan teknologi komunikasi canggih. Yeah, that covers it all. Okay, so it's a network which has information technology, sophisticated communication technology, so that the electricity system become more efficient. And then you use the word keandalan. I think the keandalan means flexibility. So I'll discuss the word flexibility later. Flexibility also is a characteristic that smart grid hopefully can provide to the grid operator, because now we have a lot of renewable energy coming to the system. The grid or the system has to be flexible enough to enable renewable energy comes to our system. As you know, renewable energy is intermittent, it's variable. So you cannot have firm dispatch as we usually dispatch our coal power plant and gas power plant or even hydro. So renewable energy has its own unique characteristic. So the grid has to be flexible to be able to absorb intermittent and variable renewable energy. So in that case, now the latest buzzword is flexibility. By having smart grid, we should have more flexible grid itself, so that all this renewable energy can come in, as in if you wish, like a plug play method. I mean, ideally you don't need to know whether there is any renewable energy coming to the system by having a smart grid. I'm sorry, you need to know, but it is not a problem to the grid if you have a smart grid and renewable energy coming to the system. So again, I took up a few slides from a presentation in Indonesia, okay, Industry 4.0. you have electricity 4.0. You have words such as, smart grid is also, some people define is electricity 4.0. So we have industry 4.0, we have electricity 4.0. For us, utility engineers are really smart grid. So we have things, new terminology such as prosumer. Prosumer is a consumer that produces and also consume. So when does a consumer produce? And produce is when he or she has its own, say for example, solar panels. So when you have a solar panel, you actually consume and produce. So normally, so what is it about the connection between the relationship between prosumer and smart grid? So smart grid enable prosumers to come in, okay? Because the old grid is not really friendly to prosumers. The old grid, the old conventional grid will say that, please, we have to limit penetration of renewable energy, because the grid, as we all know, is not designed to be a two-way dual flow of electricity. It is normally one-way flow, especially on the distribution network. We set our system, we design our system, we set the protection system, one-way flow. Transmission, the generation, transmission, distribution to the consumer. So the smart grid should enable power to flow from the consumer to distribution to even transmission. So even certain cases in other advanced countries, even the power plant itself are able to absorb power, especially when it is not producing, but it still needs energy for its own use. So smart grid enables prosumer. Prosumer is a term that came during the era of smart grid. Okay, because prosumer produces its own electricity. Now we enable them to produce electricity. There are the other two terms that I didn't list them here. Prosumer. Prosumer is a consumer that produces, consume, and store energy. If you put a battery with a prosumer, it becomes a prosumer. Okay, and then there are some consumers are what we call non-sumer. Non-sumer is consumers that do not consume electricity at all, or at least most of the time. Okay, the non-sumers they are still connected to the grid for reliability purpose, but they want to be independent. So they only want to produce electricity when they have excess energy. They want to consume when they have deficit energy. So those are non-sumers. So all of these new categories of consumer, prosumers, prosumer, and non-sumers are enabled in the era of smart grid. So smart grid enable new types of consumer that wants to be active participation in the grid. Before, most consumers are non-active or passive. What are non-passive consumers? You just consume electricity, then you pay your bills at the end of the month. But now there are consumers who wants to participate actively, participate in having controls over the consumption, and sometimes they want to benefit from having its participation in the network by having money. They get paid by producing electricity. So all of this category of customers are enabled by smart grid. So that's why you say here, I'm attracted to the slide here, consumer semakin cerdas, because the consumer become more smart, enabled, and able to participate, or even to the extent benefit from having from participating in the grid. So okay, this is one thing that I always show in my talk is that if you have this famous two persons in electricity industry, in telecoms and power, Nikola Tesla and Bell on the communication side, Nikola Tesla on the electricity side. If you wake these two guys up from their grave, they are able to walk around. Okay, Alexander Bell will not be able to recognize it's his design. There's no more of the old telephone that he designed 100+ years ago. He will not be able to recognize. But if you wake up Tesla from his grave, he walks around, he will see that nothing has really changed on the electricity side. So this is the thing about electricity. It has not changed so much until maybe 10 years ago. Then you have to start having more devices. On smart grid is really about combination of these two, communications and power, and it becomes smart grid. So what are the characteristics of a smart grid? Before we have a one-way flow, now we have a two-way flow. I'm sure you all know that. customer interaction. Before, we have limited interaction with the conventional grid. Consumers are really passive consumer. Now we have extensive participation with the consumer. We enable them, at least after the smart meter, then after that selling back to the grid. In Malaysia, we have net energy metering scheme. Before that, feed-in tariff scheme. So smart grid enable them to participate. Operation before manual, now more remote. We want to go more into autonomous. We want to reduce our staff number. We want to be more efficient. We want to make our control center, for example, smaller. So smart grid enables all this. Generation before is all one central generation, become now both centralized and distributed. Okay, as you all know, distributed generation, local generation actually is less lossy, less of producing losses than distributed, than centralized generation. If you have all of us know that physics says that if you can produce your electricity locally, it's much more better than having to transport electricity, say for example from Surabaya all the way to Jakarta. So it's better in terms of security, in terms of losses, and it's also better in terms of sustainability, right? Because the less power that you export, the less loss that you have, the less energy emissions that you emit, because you produce electricity locally. Power flow control, okay, before is limited. You just open and close breakers, or reducing or increase generation. That's as much as you can do. But in smart grid, by power electronics, we are able to do more. There are cleverer tap changers, there are power electronics devices, there are AC-DC converters. So all of those come in. So all of these are technologies that enable smart grid, enable two-way, extensive customer interaction, remote control, distributed generation, and extensive power control by the grid operator. So making the case, so why do we need smart grid? Number one, when people ask me, why do you want to do smart grid? My first answer would always be to offer better customer service. Okay, because customers pay for our bills, pay for our salary, our operation costs. So you need to enable the customer. Okay, always put customer first. Okay, customers, how do they benefit? Because number one, they have, by having, say for example, by having a smart meter, they know immediately their consumption. It's not at the end of the month, once a month kind of thing anymore. You can actually see on your handphone what is your real-time consumption. You can see it in ringgit Malaysia. You can see in terms of rupiah Indonesia, for example, how much you're consuming immediately. Okay, so why do we need to give them this information? Because we want to give them control. Imagine that if you go to a supermarket, okay, and then you do all your shopping, you put your groceries inside the basket, and at the end of the shopping round, you go to the cashier and start paying without realizing that you've taken so much. That is how bills are issued to the customer now. We want to give the consumer visualization immediately, how much they're spending. So they have better visualization, so they can control. First, we give them information, and later we're going to give them control. So ideally, in the smart grid world, it goes all the way behind the meter. So the consumer the consumer can control, or the consumer can give utility the controls. So the customer can say that, I want to set my bill this month only 200 ringgit. So the utility or the third party are able to advise consumer how much he or she is using. So that's the ultimate objective for smart grid, I think. Because other than security, reliability, sustainability, the consumer, if you survey a consumer now anywhere, they want a cheaper bills, right? It's not the bigger affordability. Number one, cheaper bills. How do we give them cheaper bills? By giving them better visualization and control. Number two, why do we need smart grid? Is we want to reduce carbon emission. Okay, now we have, so because indirectly we enable more renewable energy come into the system. We manage growth in electricity consumption. We don't need to put so much additional transformers. We don't need to expend so much infrastructure for maximum demand. We're able to flatten the daily load profile. So all of these contribute to reducing carbon emissions. Malaysia has a target. I'm sure Indonesia also has a target. So objective number 2 is to reduce carbon emission and contribute towards reducing global warming issues. Decentralizing energy generation. I mentioned before, consumers like to produce. It's better to produce locally than going central generation. So smart grid, before conventional grid are not able to give consumer choices to produce its own electricity. Now with smart grid, by better visualization, better controls, the consumer can produce electricity. They can even profit to a certain extent producing electricity. Optimizing distribution, when you put more devices, you can optimize distribution by not having so much transformers. You can reroute your power to avoid problems. And finally, going flexible. So the grid, as I mentioned before, if you have more renewable energy, the grid has to be more adaptable. What Bahasa Indonesia uses the word keandalan, I think it's flexibility. I think so. The grid, the smart grid enables the system to be more flexible. Flexibility is the key word now, okay? Because the famous dark curve will have your solar intermittency, variability issues, that whenever you have a cloud cover, suddenly the production drops. The grid enables, the smart grid enables to replace generation immediately. So these are the enabler making the case of smart grid. It's very important. If you want to do smart grid, do all of this, convince the consumers, convince the stakeholders that these are the benefit of a smart grid. Okay, I'm not going to go too long about anatomy of a smart grid. A lot of charts I just downloaded, and one of the one that we use frequently in TNB, smart grid is not just related only to the consumer. There are markets, there are operations, service providers. These are, keywords in smart grid, the systems that you need to put in. This is just ideal. I'm sure this is not the only alphabet soup of technologies that we have to put in our grid to make the grid smarter. This is just some of them selected ones. So you put all of this, hopefully, and then they are related to markets, operations, service providers, distributed energy resources, and hopefully it makes your grid smarter. So this is just what we call anatomy of smart grid. I'm not going to go into individual technologies. So again, some more technologies. I just take this one from A.T. Kearney. What is smart grid? A lot of technologies you want to put in. But be careful. We in TNB as well, we need to be selectively doing this. We cannot do it one go because it's very expensive. So you're gonna choose a particular area. You're gonna do a pilot. You're gonna see feedback from the consumers, feedback from those stakeholders before you start installing more and more technologies, because this eventually at the start will increase your tariff, will increase the bills to the consumer, because the more asset that you put in, at least in Malaysia, the more the tariff will increase. So we have to be selectively doing this. And this is some of the technologies for smart grid in transmission and distribution. Okay, when you implement a smart grid, some of the problems is that the misunderstanding between smart meters and smart grid. A lot of people say that what is smart grid? Smart grid is smart meter. No, smart meter is only one component of it. By having only smart meters doesn't make the smart grid smart, doesn't make the grid smart. So misunderstanding of once you get a smart meter, the grid has become smarter. No, not yet. Although smart meter is a very important component of a smart grid because you enable visualization and control on the customer side. There are many other technologies related to smart, and smart meter itself, okay, it needs its own communication system, needs its own back-end system, data, analytics, etc., etc. So smart meter doesn't make a smart grid, but it's a major component of smart grid. Smart grids versus unbundling. Okay, what I meant here is that when you have smart grid, you have a lot of parties involved. You have the generation side, you have distribution side, you have consumer, you have the regulators. Okay, say for example, when you install smart meter, at least in Malaysia, those who install smart meters are the distribution people, distribution network, we call them here. But those that engage with the consumer are the retail side of TNB. So they may have different objectives. So if we are lucky in Malaysia, we're still under one roof called TNB. But these could be issues in other jurisdictions when you unbundle between transmission and retail, between network and retail, because those that install smart meters are different from those that can benefit from smart meters. Technology versus transformation, very important that you do not just do the technology, you have to transform the mindset. The utility people has to change from the old mindset to the new mindset. Okay, as we all know, technology, you cannot just install for the sake of technology, you have to change the whole process value chain. Okay, for example, now you have smart meter. Given a simple example, a smart meter, you no longer need a meter reader. Okay, you probably need a meter control center. So, and the bill will be issued automatically. It will not be through postal mails anymore. So the whole, when you install any particular technology, the whole value chain changes. So do not just concentrate on the technology, the transformation of whole work process is also critically important. Customer versus networks, advantage, disadvantage. Certain technologies can be advantageous to customers, but not so much to the network. Some are vice versa. Some that you install on the network are not advantageous to the customer. So these are the trade-off that you need to do. Okay, so these four issues are when you implement smart grid, and I see from the presentation I downloaded a few hours ago from Indonesian conference, yes, you are already facing this issue and you are cleverly installing, doing pilots on selected locations in Indonesia. You do it one go. Okay, you choose carefully and then you do on pilot areas for smart grid. So impact of smart grid, we all know this. I'm just re-emphasizing. Reduce for improved reliability. Hopefully, we reduce the number of duration. So outage duration that will reduces the number, will improve numbers such as SAIDI, SAIFI, KAIFI. Reduce number of customers impacted if outages. You cannot totally eliminate outages, but at least you can reduce the number of customer impacted by outages. Enhance knowledge of customer outages. You're gonna give customer information. When the customer call, when will I be restored, you know immediately rather than guessing. So this is something that of value to the customer. If you call, obviously, when you are on a blackout, you want to know when your area will be restored. Protection against overload conditions. We're going to be celebrating Hari Raya, right, soon, Eid next week. So in my village, up in the north, if during Hari Raya time, we have overload conditions in my local area. So by smart grid, ideally, we want to avoid that condition by rerouting power, by pre-planning, by preparing for the network for such conditions. Timely, accurate restoration information for customers, mentioned before, very important. It gives you customer satisfaction, knowing where they are, when are they going to get their electricity back. Okay, the other three are effective DG generation, improved system efficiency, power quality, advanced for us utility, advanced asset management. We know the age, we know what is the performance of a particular equipment on the network. We're going to have historical value. We're going to compare. We're going to make prediction of whether the transformer or whether a switch gear is going to fail. All of these are information are enabled by smart grid. So there's nothing really, disadvantages about smart grid, maybe other than cost and misunderstanding. So I'll end my talk today by sharing you the top 10, I think, smart grid challenges. I may have mentioned this in passing before. Number one is must balance the energy trilemma. Although people say that smart grid is the complete solution of solving the security, affordability, and sustainability, for me, it's not quite. You still have to do the balancing. Some technologies, smart grid may improve on affordability, but may compromise on sustainability, for example. But smart grid technology should be able to do this better than the conventional grid. Okay, so we still have to balance the energy trilemma issues. Smart grids and culture go hand in hand. Whenever you have smart grid, change your culture also, change your process also. Okay, you cannot just be installing smart meter and having meter readers still. For example, in employment, you have to change them. You have to upgrade them to other areas in the utility business. So must change the culture, not just change the technologies. Technologies are the least of your worries. Okay, we can just buy them. It's the least of your worries. But how to use them is more critical. Incentives are the key. Okay, in Malaysia, for example, we need to go to our regulator and get money to do this. Regulator must approve. I'm sure also in Indonesia, you have to convince the government, EDSM, something like the ministry, that you need to be incentivized to do this. You cannot just be doing this for free. You need to be paid for doing this. Smart meters don't make a grid smart, at least not yet. Okay, a lot of misunderstanding there. Once you have smart meter, they think that you are already smart grid. No. Okay, it's a very critical component, but it's not the whole story. Get ready for data and lots of it. This is one of the things that we underestimate. Once you install smart meter and all of these visualization technologies in our network, you're going to have a huge amount of data. You don't even know what to do with them. Okay, a lot of smart meter data coming in at maybe every 30 minutes. You have 48 data points. What are you going to do with it? Okay, you're going to be storing a lot of data. Issues in TNB also, we're still figuring out what we're going to do with them. Okay, are we going to offer better services? Are we going to allow them to see this information? So you're going to have a lot of data. Start with what you have. Very important. Do start small. Do not be overly ambitious when putting a smart grid. Doing pilots are always a recommendation. If you have problem in the grid, point number 8, do that first. If you have a problem, say for example, you are going to install a smart meter, okay, identify customer that may have a good old meter before. So because you want to avoid a problem, what we call bill shock. Because if the customer had an old meter which is inaccurate in the first place, if she or he gets a new smart meter, the bill will go up. So try to fix that one first. Okay, try to identify customer that have problems and fix that one first before you go and happily install smart meter. Start forecasting more new connections. Okay, now if you have expanding growth in the network, try to predict where they are. Use new technologies immediately, and then finally, most importantly, and this is something that I always remind everyone, do not forget the consumers. Okay, the reason why you install smart grid is to serve the customer, to give them value. So always think as customer number one. Okay, with that, I think I end my talk. There are a few more slides. This shows that what TNB is doing, our distribution side. We have a program called TNB Smart Utility 25. We have strategies, we have phases, we have estimated expenditure we want to do, and most importantly, we try to measure ourselves in terms of what we call smart utility maturity framework. I'm sure you have heard about this. We have to benchmark ourselves with what people are doing. So we rank ourselves on individual characteristics or smart grid or what we are. And I think PLN also does that. I think with that, Bapak Dimas, I'll hand it over for you for question and answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting presentation delivery from Dr. Aznan. Sebelumnya, sebelum masuk ke sesi tanya jawab, saya ingin menyampaikan atau mengingatkan para peserta untuk dapat berkenan mengisi daftar hadir yang dapat dilakukan melalui tautan atau link yang sudah kami share di chatroom Zoom ini, dan serta memberikan feedback ke kami melalui survei juga sudah kami sampaikan juga di lembar di chatbox tersebut, supaya dapat menjadi feedback ke kami untuk perbaikan kegiatan ke depannya. Jadi mohon untuk berpartisipasi aktif dalam kedua hal tersebut. Nah, di sini kami sudah menerima beberapa pertanyaan dari beberapa peserta. Jadi mungkin saya akan bacakan karena ada 3 pertanyaan, ada 3 set pertanyaan yang sudah kami dapatkan. Untuk pertanyaan yang pertama akan saya bacakan dari Pak Satrio Wibowo. Mungkin ini bersifat agak teknis. Pertanyaan dalam bahasa Indonesia, Pak
Boleh ya?
Asnan.
Boleh, Pak.
Saya akan coba bacakan. Yang pertama, apakah TNB Research punya fokus research pada ICS atau SCADA, security, terutama di sisi Smartgrid? Lalu satu rangkaian dengan pertanyaan tersebut, apakah TNB menggunakan DLMS Chosin juga menggunakan security suite Seberapa dan apa alasannya? Serta yang terakhir, apakah sudah ada implementasi blockchain di sistem ketenagalistrikan Malaysia?
Okay, I try to answer those questions. Boleh ya? Jawabnya Bapak?
Silakan.
I'll try to answer as quickly as possible because we have many questions. Does TNB Research focus research SCADA? I'm not sure what is ICS, but yeah, we all know what SCADA is. SCADA security, no, TNB Research doesn't, but we do emphasize. Yeah, something I've forgotten before now is one of the tips. Always watch out for cyber security issues, because you're going to have more implemented. You have information technology communications. You are actually opening up threats to your grid communication systems. So always watch out for that. We do not have research on that, but it's one of the things that we are very careful of about security, about cyber security. Apakah TNB menggunakan DLMS is distribution load management system, I think, right? I do not, right? DLMS. Some of these acronyms I'm not familiar with.
Wait.
DLMS, distributed load management system.
Device language message specification.
Oh, sorry, I do not know that. I cannot answer that.
It's a protocol usually used for smart device like smart meters.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the is operating software. I'm not sure. I cannot answer that. But I like to answer number 3. Apakah sudah ada? No. Blockchain in electricity? No. I think this is more related of peer-to-peer energy trading. Okay. We have done a pilot in 2019 about peer-to-peer trading. Not exactly blockchain, because the argument then, the reason that we did not use blockchain, because we think that is an overkill. You don't need to go into blockchain to do peer-to-peer energy trading. We do pilot of peer-to-peer energy trading. It was kind of a success. But after that, because it was done before the lockdown happened, then the project didn't really take off. So the direct answer to that is no, we have not done blockchain in electricity system peer-to-peer energy trading yet, but we're open to that. Next question.
Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Ahmad Murdani. The question there's 2 questions from him. First, how does the power market in Malaysia adapt due to the smart grid or electricity 4.0 rollout? And the second is how the Malaysia government mitigate investment risk in existing fossil power plant, since by smart grid rollout, those power plants compete with prosumer.
Okay, answer number 1. How does power market in Malaysia adapt? Well, we have a regulated market here. We are much like PLN, but vertically integrated. So TNB owns generation, transmission, distribution, and retail. There are independent power producers on the generation side. There are few independent retailers. They call it franchise areas on the retail side, but we are not fully open. So in that case, it's easy to adapt smart grid or any new technologies, because we can just go to the regulator and ask for money to do this. I assume that if we have a more competitive market where all business entities are unbundled, separated, distribution different, transmission different, ownership and companies, it will be much more difficult. But so now we can adapt easily now, thankfully, because we are still vertically integrated. Question number 2 is, how does government Malaysia investment in existing fossil power, since by those power plant compete with prosumer? Okay, actually the government of Malaysia welcomes competition. It's always their intention to open up the industry more, but because the intention is to provide more participation in the industry and also innovation, more products and services. So they investment risk in existing fossil power plants, since those power plants compete with prosumers. Well, actually, the prosumers are still small. We have large-scale solar. These are owned by TNB or some very big solar producing companies. They are not that big yet. So prosumers will compete with TNB, but they are not that big yet. Okay, so we manage that risk by, thankfully still the market is not that big. So there's but we are prepared for it. Okay, because maybe the answer is that we also compete on that side. We have our own solar companies. We have our own solar leasing company. So we actually compete on that side. So anytime that a solar company steals, if I may use the word, our consumer actually steals from another arm of TNB. So we mitigate it by also participating in that market. Next question, Pak Dimas.
The next question is from Mr. Zainul. How does Malaysia government manage the investment for developing advanced metering infrastructure, or AMI, and grid automation, which are expected to contribute the further advancement in network reliability and efficiency? Please.
Okay. Maybe the answer, the question that Bapak really meant is, how does TNB manage? Because TNB is a public listed company. Although majority shareholder is the government, but I think we are listed maybe 40-50% of our shares on the stock market. So we are a public company. So the question is, how does we TNB manage developing advanced and to contribute further? I think the answer is we manage it by planning it in our asset base. In TNB, in Malaysia we have a regulator called Energy Commission. So every 3 years we have to submit our capital expenditure, and we include all of these investments, potential investment, in that request to the regulator. So we debate, we discuss, we argue, and after that the regulator decide. So they give us money to do all of this. So the answer to that is, we manage this expansion of infrastructure in TNB Grid by managing the regulator. So we have to tell the regulator what are these devices are for the objectives that I mentioned in my talk: managing the consumer, satisfying the consumer, improving security, contributing to the environment. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Maybe now I want to switch for a while to the question from me. There's one question related to your presentation, sir. It's about in some countries, smart grid implementation were driven or initiated by the government will instead of the market demand. The question now about the smart grid is it good to have or must have thing? And does that answer works for all countries?
The question is, does market work as far as
in some countries, smart grids oftenly driven by the government will.
Yeah, like us, or Indonesia.
So the one that I want to ask is, the smart grid, is it good to have thing or must have thing? Does that answer is obsolete, or it will depends on which country it will be implemented?
Okay. A few weeks ago, I had a discussion with a consultant in California, and one of the participants of the talk asked the question whether if you want to do all of the smart grid thing, is it better to have an open market like California or a closed market like Malaysia? The consultant answered, surprisingly, it's better to be in Malaysia than in California. Because if you have a vertically integrated utility like us, we can plan centrally. We can coordinate between various arms of the utility, between generation, within transmission, with distribution. Okay, if the smart meter is installed by the distribution, it can relate immediately in-house with the retail people, for example. If you have phasor measurement units on the transmission system, that information can also be of benefit to the distribution network operator. So in terms of installing capital, having big investment like this, it's always better to have a centrally planned unit like TNB to a certain extent and PLN, because you can plan centrally. But the advantage of having an open market is it is more innovative. So they try to find ways to make it work, and they try to make it ways to coordinate between the various players in the value chain. So it still works. I mean, the open market also has smart grid thing, but they do it more like they try to be more for themselves. Say, for example, I'm a transmission operator in an open market. I do things mainly for the benefit of myself. Okay, I am less caring about the generation side or distribution side, for example. So in that sense, okay, it's much more difficult, but they somehow make it work also. Because most of these technologies that we are discussing now came from open market countries, jurisdictions. So we have advantages and disadvantages, obviously. I think vertically integrated like Malaysia, Indonesia, in terms of central planning, yes, better. But in terms of, if you want faster innovation, you cannot compete in open environment. And I hope that answers the question. So it depends on what do you want. Do you want coordination or you want innovation?
So it depends. Okay, thank you. We have some special question from Mr. Chiteng Marsudi in the chat box. How can the smart grid produce electricity cheaper than the electricity produced by rooftop or home wind turbine? Before you answer it, sir, maybe saya akan memberikan kesempatan bagi Pak Chiteng jika ingin ada hal yang ingin disampaikan secara lisan.
Iya, good. Baik. Secara lisan.
Jika tidak ada, maka akan saya persilakan Pak Aznan untuk langsung menjawab pertanyaannya.
From Bapak Jiteng, ya. How can the smart grid produce electricity cheaper than electricity produced by rooftop or home wind turbine? Okay. Well, smart grid in itself doesn't produce electricity. You cannot say that an electricity produced by smart grid, as you cannot compare smart grid electricity as compared to smart electricity produced by wind or rooftop. What I mentioned just now was that smart grid enables rooftop and wind turbine better than before. Before, we have conventional grid. The conventional grid are less friendlier to wind turbine and rooftop solar panels. But smart grid is friendlier because smart grid enable two-way power flow, more visualization, more control. So the question should be in a way that smart grid. The answer to that question in another way is that smart grid enables rooftop solar and wind turbine, and then rooftop solar and wind turbine, the prices are going down. So because the enabler is smart grid, so wind turbine, solar energy now, a lot of people are saying the levelized cost of energy produced by solar rooftop is much cheaper than the centralized generation. So smart grid enables cheaper electricity produced by solar and wind turbine. So it's not a direct competition. It is an enabler. Pemudah. What do you call it in Indonesia? Pemudah cara.
Silakan Pak Chiteng jika ada yang ingin disampaikan.
Saya bisa ngomong.
Silakan Pak.
Boleh Pak.
Silakan.
Yeah, but it is not the case in the smart grid of PLN. I am retired CEO from PLN. I am retired 20 years ago. Yeah? And I see that in Indonesia, the development of rooftop and especially rooftop electricity from rooftop is cheaper than electricity from the grid. So it is not a smart grid, but a stupid grid. Yeah. And what is happening now, people installed rooftop and then use the grid from PLN as standby power. So at the daytime, they use electricity from rooftop. And then at nighttime, they use from PLN. So they can install a smaller battery. Yeah. There is a video where just a former minister for energy, Mr. Ignatius Jonan, he announced in the video that he installed a rooftop at his home and that he can reduce the bill from PLN by using rooftop at daytime, and the payback period is 5 years. That is a video from ex-minister Ignatius Jonan. That is the reality in Indonesia, where the grid is producing electricity more expensive than from rooftop, and then it is treated as a standby power. So it is not a smart grid, but a stupid grid.
Thank you, Mr. Jitang.
Thank you,
sudah
Bapak.
diterima maksudnya.
I like to respond to that, to Pak Jitang. Yeah. Pak Jitang was saying that that even the dumb grid, the stupid grid also takes in solar power. Yes, it does, to a certain extent. Okay, maybe if you have 1%, 2% penetration, it's not a problem. You hardly see it. Okay, you can just simply inject to the grid without anyone even noticing, without even causing high voltages, overloading, safety issues. But once you have more than, I know people are saying 10%, 20%, then you're going to have to start, then you're going to have problems. So that's why we need smart grid to enable this. So we need smart grid, a smarter grid. If Bapak doesn't like the word smart grid, maybe a smarter grid is to enable more renewable energy. So as Bapak correctly said, now solar rooftop power is cheaper than the grid electricity. Yes, it is. It's very competitive, at least in Malaysia. So we want to use smart grid to enable more renewable energy coming from these distributed resources. So it's only helpful to have, so smart grid is not producing cheaper electricity, but smart grid enable cheaper electricity from solar rooftop. I hope that answers Bapak's question.
Okay. Mr. Aznan. So,
Thank you,
Mr. Jitang. So we need to continue to the another question today. This question is from Mr. Agustinus Sampealo. Pertanyaan saya, sudah sampai sejauh mana pemanfaatan PLTS di Malaysia di solar panel, di solar PV panel in Malaysia? Kontribusi tenaga surya dalam sistem kelistrikan Malaysia sudah berapa persen?
Okay. Malaysia solar panels itself is about nearly 800 megawatts from a total maximum demand of 18,000 megawatts. So it's less than, still less, about 8,000, 800, 16,000, less than 5% still solar. But then solar is not the only renewable energy in Malaysia. We have a lot of hydro. So our latest definition, large hydro is also part of renewable energy. So now using that definition, we are more than 15%. I think between 12, something like that, more than 10 using large hydro. But solar itself is less than 5%. But if you read the news, a lot of large scale solar tenders are open. So we have large scale solar number 4 now. we have done large scale solar number 1, 2, and 3, and this is about roughly 500 megawatts each. So now we are reaching, if all of the large scale solar programs are completed, we easily going to get 2,000. And these 2,000 megawatt are only large scale solar. There are also rooftop solar, small scale, that we do not see 1 or 2 kilowatt system, because in Malaysia the rule says that only if you are above 1 megawatt you have to put SCADA system. So below 1 megawatt you cannot put a SCADA system. So actually a lot more are coming in the system. So but we are thinking of new techniques and tools, and so obviously these techniques or tools are coming via Smartgrid to enable better visualization, because some people tell me that by PMU or substation data you can tell how much solar that you have on that particular network.
Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Ahmad Murdani again. How big the size of your P2P, peer-to-peer energy trading pilot project, if any? Any idea what are challenges in implementing the P2P energy trading based on your pilot project result?
Thank you for your question, Bapak. The size of our peer-to-peer is not that big, probably in less than 1 megawatt. A couple of hundreds kilowatt. These are solar. The way we did this, we chose producers, solar producers that already have solar contracts with TNB. So they produce, and we choose consumer that want to buy the solar energy. Okay, it's not necessarily in the same locality. It is, I think the way the pilot was arranged was that the producer may be in one part of the country, the consumer is another part of the country. So the size is not that big. And what are the challenges in implementing the peer-to-peer energy trading? That time, the challenge that we didn't foresee was the lockdown. Suddenly, the consumer did not consume any energy at all. So there will be spill over to the grid. So what I'm trying to say is that we have certain number of consumers, certain number of producers of solar. Okay, we artificially write contracts between those two, but the producers are producing electricity, but the consumer, because of the lockdown, are not consuming. So the energy that flows to spill over to the network. So that was our main challenge. Other than that, okay, I see it worked really well for that particular pilot. Okay, now we are thinking of a second pilot, but this is more locality. So the challenge was, if there is one word of challenge, is that it's more of the regulatory obstacle, because you need to use the utility TNB network, you need to pay TNB of the use of the network, because you need to flow, the electricity has to flow through TNB network, right? So TNB needs to be paid for using the network. So that's a big discussion. So it's more of a regulatory challenge, not market challenge. There are people that wanted to produce, there wanted people that want to buy through peer-to-peer, but the challenge is the regulation itself.
Okay. So and I think it's answered that question. And the last question from the chat box is from Mr. Didik Sudarmadi. So he asked about how to fund Smartgrid and to get back its investment.
How to fund Smartgrid? Okay, in Malaysia, okay, we are vertically integrated utility. We just go and ask the government for money. Not the government will not give us money. It will approve our request for Smartgrid investment to the tariff. Because TNB, we have a regulatory scheme called incentive-based regulation. Every 3 years, we go to the government and we tell the government, our energy regulator, saying that this is the investment we're going to do for the next 3 years. And we include our Smartgrid investment in that investment proposal. And then if the government approve, then it's not like the government pays us. Then we can include that in tariff to the customer. Okay, because all of the capex or opex projection, once the government agree, we divide by the kilowatt hour, we get the same per kilowatt hour tariff. So we just go and ask the government. If the government allows, then we can charge it to the tariff. So that's how we get back the investment that we made. And then how much is the return, our return on the investment? We have something called weighted average cost of capital, WACC. It's like the interest. So if the government gives us 100 ringgit, we're gonna get 100 ringgit and 107 ringgit back. So this is there is a formula to do this, and this value are benchmarked internationally. So that's how we get the return from our investment.
Thank you. How about the third parties involvement in this business model, sir?
Okay, private parties. Did you say
third parties?
Third party. Okay, I think third party are technology providers. If they are technology providers, I mean, we are technology agnostic. Once we define what we want to buy, what we want to invest, what we want to buy, we just produce specifications. So anybody can participate in the, supplying smart meters to TNB. Anybody can do energy management system for TNB. We are technology neutral. Okay, but of course it has to fulfill certain criteria, standard, the normal IEC standards, the normal IEEE standards. So all of them must be done anyway. So third party involvement is by supplying technologies to TNB. So because TNB doesn't do its own technology, there are a few, but not most of the smart grid components we can buy from off the shelf.
Dari Pak Didi Sudarmadi, tadi ada yang ingin dikomentari terkait dengan.
Okay, thank you, Pak Aznan. This is very common in Malaysia, yeah. That I think this is not fully regulated by government for the tariff. It's different like in Indonesia that we have to get the approval from government to adjust the tariff. For also to fund the investment for the smart grid on or other ancillary services. That's our challenges. Yes, we have to deal with the government that if we invest the smart grid or ancillary services to get the very good system, that is big question for us also. Yeah, this is from our vision from PLN. Yes, thank you so much. This is an insight for us also. Yeah.
Pak, thank you very much for your remark. Again, we still have to go to the energy regulator. It's much like PLN also, but we do it more on a systematic basis. We cannot do this every year. We do it every 3 years, and we include our expected investment in smart grid. But still, the investment in smart grid is still small compared to the conventional investment. Transmission line, transformers, switchgear, substation is still small. So we can probably just slot it in. It doesn't make any difference anyway, because this is a few cents per kilowatt hour change. But what I'm noticing now, the regulator is becoming smarter. They say that, Aznan, if you want to put one smart meter, okay, what is the avoided cost to you? Say, for example, you choose a smart grid technology that costs us 10 million ringgit. Okay, what if you put the 10 million ringgit smart grid thing, what is the 10 million ringgit other things that you are saving by having that smart grid thing? So you cannot just slot in something just like that now, especially as we go along. They will always ask, you choose a smart grid technology, okay, what actually you are saving for? And if that smart grid technology is X ringgit Malaysia, it must be X plus Y ringgit Malaysia savings. So the regulator are getting smarter, and they always ask that questions. What are you trying to save by having smart grid? Other than that, we say what actually you're trying to save, what values that you add to the customer, and we probably also use the sustainability index we're going to achieve by having smart grid, less carbon emission, etc., etc. So those are the things that we put in our proposal to the government.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oke, pertanyaan dari ruang Zoom sudah saya bacakan semua. Mungkin saya kita masih punya sekitar waktu 10 menit dalam acara kita ini. Jadi saya ingin memberikan kesempatan bagi Bapak-Bapak yang ingin menyampaikan satu pertanyaan terakhir ke Pak Aznan. Di sini saya lihat ada beberapa eksekutif dari PLN. Seperti saya lihat ada Pak Evi Haryadi, ada Pak Sumaryadi. Silahkan jika ada yang ingin ditanyakan atau disampaikan. Jika tidak ada, saya ada satu pertanyaan terakhir, Pak Aznan.
Silakan.
It was explained earlier that the smart grid is not only the smart device, not only the smart system, but it's also talk about the people. We need to change the people also, and about changing their perspective. Do you have any comment about this issue? Or what do TNB do to swift their customer or their any stakeholders perspective?
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that I repeatedly mentioned that it's not just about the technology, it's about people also. Okay, it's the joke here is that it's no use having smart grid if you have dumb people.
Yes.
So there is no other way, I think, other than continuous training, agility in the employee workforce, retraining to those that are already senior in the industry. But we are lucky enough now because your smart grid doesn't happen in 1 year. You know, that's why we face this smart grid over many years, more than 10 years. We have smart utility 25 and 2025, but that makes us to a certain extent smart, but then it does not, it's still pretty low on the commonly accepted index. So we are phasing them. So because we are phasing them, we continuously have people adapt. We continuously have process change. Say, for example, you have smart meters now. Then you have installed smart meters, and that particular area you have a smart meter. The whole workforce that work on reading meters now disappear. So, but then we don't do the whole country. We do one area now. We shift that smart meter to somewhere else, or telling them to actually, go for retraining to do other things in TNB. So you have to manage, redeployment of people, retraining of people, and then phasing it systematically. So that the new generation, they are more the millennials generation, the generation Z, people told me, okay, are much more technical, IT savvy people. So we are just nicely there. So we have people that come to the workforce are more IT savvy and likes everything smart. They want to do things. These are the millennial generation. So my advice is that you cannot do in one go. Phasing it, retraining, redeployment.
So we need a process, sequential process to prepare our people.
You really have to think about the process. You really have to think that what you have to change once you have any particular technology installed in the system.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Aznan. It's very interesting things to discuss. And so we have still some minutes left. So maybe in this occasion, I will give you back the room, Mr. Aznan, to give your closing statement, maybe to close this discussion.
Okay. I would like to thank PLN, my good friend, Dr. Reza, for organizing this. I don't know whether I have met some of you before in my many meetings with PLN. And now it's unfortunate that we cannot travel. We cannot meet in Hapua settings or ASEAP setting or many conferences around the region. It's just unfortunate. But I'm sure that we may have crossed paths before. Okay, let us not forget, TNB and PLN has a very close relationship, and we hope to keep that going. So we are here. I am in TNB Research now. If you have any things that you want to discuss, problems that you want to share, experiences that you want to seek other people's opinion on, please do contact us. Okay, this pandemic should not stop our relationship, our good relationship together. Okay, I used to remember the old days when PLN had their own internally groomed CEO. Now you always have an outsider, a banker, financier as a CEO. I wouldn't say it's not good. It's probably good for PLN, okay? But in terms of relationship, okay, I used to see old times where we have same, TNB and PLN people go to the same university, and that relationship work develop over the years and make us very close to one another. But now, because of both TNB and PLN has outsiders as CEO, now TNB has a new internal CEO, so we're proud to say that, an engineer. So that relationship kind of not as strong as before. So I hope that we can still share, although in this pandemic period that we meet virtually. So always, if you have anything that you want to ask, please contact us. And we will also contact you for anything that we would like to seek information on. Last week, as recently as last week, I contacted your high voltage lab, PLN Perceptive or something, okay, to find pusat sertifikasi, something like that, to find out your experience on managing a high voltage lab. So keep that in mind. Okay, I'm here every time that you want to ask questions or seek and share experiences with. With that, thank you very much, Pak Dimas, Dr. Reza, for organizing this. I'm happy to see all my PLN friends. Selamat Hari Raya. Maaf zahir dan batin. Thank you.
Terima kasih Pak Aznan. Terima kasih atas segala hal yang di-share hari ini. Sangat bermanfaat bahwa kami di sini dapat belajar mengenai Smartgrid. Bahwa kita memahami dari diskusi yang tadi disampaikan Pak Aznan bahwa Smartgrid itu tidak hanya melulu tentang memasang alat dan mendesain aplikasi, tapi juga keseluruhan sistem termasuk di dalamnya adalah orangnya. Jadi ke depan bila PLN pasti akan menuju ke sana, pasti akan menuju ke Smartgrid, bahkan sekarang mungkin beberapa cikal bakalnya sudah diterapkan. Jadi tentunya banyak tantangan yang bukan hanya untuk PLN sebagai utility company, tapi juga untuk pemerintah, untuk customer, untuk segala stakeholder yang bermain di dunia ketenagalistrikan. Karena itu mungkin perlu kita ikrarkan bersama bahwa kita harus meningkatkan kemampuan diri kita terus-menerus supaya kita dapat menyongsong hari itu dengan lebih baik, dengan lebih siap, dan nantinya akan memberikan yang terbaik untuk negara kita, bangsa Indonesia. Mungkin seperti itu kita berada di penghujung acara kita DUR3N edisi 20. Terima kasih atas segala partisipasinya. Kami mengucapkan terima kasih bagi seluruh peserta yang sudah aktif berdiskusi, baik yang ada di YouTube, yang ada di ruang Zoom. Lalu kami juga sekali lagi mengingatkan bagi peserta yang untuk dapat berkenan mengisi daftar hadir yang sudah kami share melalui tautan link di ruang Zoom kami. Jadi juga di situ ada mengenai survei atau penilaian tentang pelaksanaan kegiatan ini. Harapannya nanti dari survei tersebut kami dapat mendapatkan feedback atau masukan-masukan untuk perbaikan kegiatan ini ke depannya. Mungkin seperti itu. Sebagai penutup saya ucapkan selamat siang. Semoga kita selalu diberi kesehatan dan diberi ketabahan dan kekuatan untuk menghadapi pandemi ini supaya segera berakhir dan kita dapat bertemu kembali dengan saudara-saudara Pak Aznan dan rekan-rekan yang lain dalam kondisi yang lebih baik, dalam kondisi yang sehat. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.